The marine park that Parks Victoria look after is the Inghams Marine National Park, and then that's ultimately part of the bigger Ramsar site. And we've got a number of key assets, or like ecological sort of indicators that we've identified as really, really important in that national park, and the effect that Watson's Creek has on the park obviously influences a lot of those. So one of the key threats that we've identified for that marine protected area is the nutrient levels and the water quality, and obviously what happens in the catchment further up has a huge influence on our species in there.
It goes through from just south of Frankston through a heavily residential area, built up environment, and then it has industrial area issues on it. There's cement works along the creek. We've got vegetable growers, obviously the Inghams poultry plant, but so it's a lot of uses on a single creek going to a marine park, and it goes through very sensitive areas, flowing into across the salt marshes and mudflats, which is a Ramsar area.
It's a peri-urban landscape, which is a starting point for a lot of contestation in terms of industry, urban and agricultural practices. So trying to sort of get those land use tensions balanced so that we do have good primary production systems with really good relationships with the urban environment as well as industry, all being able to do what they do and do it well within this landscape.
The water stewardship system is built around the International Water Stewardship Standard, which is aiming to achieve 4 outcomes through a 6-stage process. The 4 outcomes are a sustainable water balance, meaning the quantitative measure of water used, good water quality, good water governance, and healthy important water-related areas. The 6-step process starts with making a commitment to good water stewardship. It then works through understanding the catchment challenges and interpreting those challenges in the context of a site water stewardship plan. The site then implements that plan, it evaluates it, and it reports on that plan to stakeholders.
We became involved in water stewardship, I tend to say at the beginning of the water stewardship process. We attended a conference as a guest of South East Water, who are our water authority here at the Somerville plant. And I guess at that stage with Inghams, we were really at the point where we were beginning to understand that water wasn't just a commodity, that it was actually of great importance to the business, and that regardless of what we paid for it, without it we wouldn't survive as an operating business. It's a system whereby you can be sure yourself as an operator that you're being a good steward, a good water manager, but it's also something that can be used to demonstrate to others, whether they're customers or whether they're community, government, regulators, that we are doing the best that we can possibly do with the water that we have available to us.
So one of our first tasks in this project was to identify the shared catchment challenges. To do that, we brought together all the relevant government agencies and asked them to bring their reports and data and information so that we could go through that and see what would be relevant to a site water manager in developing their site water stewardship plan. So we could tie the two together. The site plan would reflect the overall catchment challenges.
We like to see ourselves as a facilitator and to be able to get a lot of people together to get good projects happening. And this is, I think, is an opportunity to bring together the water agencies of government departments, get their support, and then they can all be working on the same project at the same time at multiple levels instead of it being siloed. Involvement of the community, we want to see that.
The Western Port Biosphere Water Stewardship Project is a pretty exciting one for us. One of the things that we have learnt as a company through water stewardship is that we don't reach outside of our fence or our gate very often, and that's a gap, and the water stewardship standard highlights that. So what we're hoping to do with this project is to get a good understanding of the catchment within which we operate at this particular site, and to understand more about what drives that catchment and what some of the impacts on it are and what we can do to reduce that impact or improve catchment health.
Biosphere goals are to obviously raise awareness within the community and also, I think, create a standard that other people and other industries will want to aspire to, and that's going to make it much easier for us to manage the negative impacts that we have on waterways. So the challenge is, I think, to re-engage with the community and also with the other users along the creek line, raising their awareness of the issues and the impacts it has on the marine environment as well.
It's very important to have community acceptance of the business we're in, and poultry has grown exponentially on the basis of it's a cheap product. I think we need to raise our profile a bit more and say we're a good industry that is sustainable and can complement the local environment rather than be an imposition on it.
We've piloted the Water Stewardship Standard a couple of times under different scenarios, and that's really built a lot of internal capacity around water stewardship and really taken our understanding from a level of water efficiency to one of true water management. That's been a very important outcome. The other, I guess, has been the development of our advanced water treatment plants, and we've got 2 of those plants. We've got one here in Victoria and one in Queensland, where we treat our wastewater to drinking water level, and we use it again in the factory. Now that reduces our use of water by up to 70%. Which is quite a groundbreaking achievement in terms of water efficiency. Being part of water stewardship and understanding that system really gave us the confidence to go ahead with those systems. They were really enabled us to, I guess, to decouple our company's growth from water scarcity, but it also again just re-emphasised that the value of water is not necessarily just in the dollar cost, it's actually having the water available. We've been recognised a number of times by different agencies and also by different customers. One of the biggest was quite recently with McDonald's Water Stewardship Award, which we won, which we were the best in the water category globally.
What we would like to get out of this project from a local government perspective is helping raise the awareness and profile of really sustainable and best practice farming systems in our region. That we're doing things really, really well, and it's a very collegiate atmosphere between different stakeholders in a very contested land use space.
Well, we would hope the outcome of this project would be greater acceptance of when we want to expand the facility here, because we're running it economically and growth is occurring in the industry, that we can do that much more easily than if we just came in and said we want to spend a lot of money and grow the business again. All of the stakeholders, the government, the local community would be aware of what we do and our value at the present time, and that any growth will be done in a sustainable manner as well, rather than be detrimental to the area.
There's probably a few outcomes. Obviously, dealing with improving the water quality, reducing some of the nutrients and some of the sediments that are coming into the marine park would be an amazing benefit. But working with some of the other stakeholders and working with the community, so educating some of our neighbours and the landholders upstream about some of the really important values in the park, why we have this really special marine protected area, that it is an area for a lot of really threatened shorebirds and a lot of significant species, and that their behaviour and their practices upstream ultimately can affect what's happening downstream. So a bit of that education, working with our neighbours, and obviously working with all the stakeholders as well. And it benefits the whole catchment if we're improving water quality. So it's not just the park at the end.
In Australia, and indeed globally, we face enormous challenges with our freshwater resources. Challenges of scarcity, not enough water, challenges of quality, pollution, challenges of poor water governance. We have to find different ways of dealing with these challenges. Water stewardship is an approach that is aiming to deal with these challenges by bringing people from different perspectives together to work collaboratively to try and deal with these very important issues that are only going to get worse in the coming decades.